See the sun come up on Sunday morning and watch it fade the moon away. I guess you know I'm giving you a warning, 'cause me and moon are itching to play. I'll take you on a trip beside the ocean and drop the top of Chesapeake Bay. Ain't nothing like the sky that knows a potion. The moon will send you on your way. Moonlight feels right. Moonlight feels right. Moonlight.
Now, the show that highlights America's most intelligent people.
I took it to instill public confidence in the vaccine. President-elect Harris took hers today for the same reason.
Freedom's Pep Rally with John James.
Welcome. Good morning. Welcome. Freedom's Pep Rally is on your radio and on your phone and on your computer, on wherever you're on this morning. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. And we've got news to get to very quickly here. We're going to get to it shortly. We'll do our Today in History because we need to learn a little about history, but got a couple of links that were sent to me this morning, and Mike got some information too that sort of dovetails with what I'm going to tell you. One of them deals with the Insurrection Act. Actually, they both deal with the Insurrection Act. So stay with me. You're going to find it interesting, I think. There's more going on than meets the eye. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody. It's gonna shock. I believe it's going to shock a lot of people who listen to all kinds of media, because I don't know as anybody is covering some of this stuff. And there's clearly some plausibility to some sort of, I don't want to use the word uprising, but don't count that out. Now, we'll get to that in just a minute. I'm going to give you the websites I'm getting it from, too. I'll tell you where you can find this stuff. So bear with me for a minute. Let's find out what happened on this day in history, years past. It is January the 12th, and this is the Associated Press.
January 12th, 1991. Just days before a UN deadline, Congress authorizes President George H.W. Bush to use force to expel Iraq from Kuwait.
The action taken by the United States Congress today is a very important step in hopefully getting Saddam Hussein to realize what he's up against.
Days later, an American-led coalition launches Operation Desert Storm, which drives Saddam Hussein's troops from Kuwait. 1945. In the final months of World War II, Soviet forces begin a huge offensive against Nazi Germany in Eastern Europe. 1932. Hattie Caraway of Arkansas becomes the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate. Caraway wins a special election to fill the last few months of her late husband's term. 1976. In Britain, mystery writer Agatha Christie, whose works include Murder on the Orient Express, dies at age 85. And in 1971,
Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade.
All in the Family premieres on CBS. The sitcom breaks new ground in depicting serious topics on TV, becoming wildly popular. Today in history, January 12th. Sandy Kozel, The Associated Press.
Your pep rally for freedom is back. Powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
All right, here's something. This is brand new. This is an exclusive from The Blaze. A sign of the times. Facebook has permanently banned retailer Patriotic Me from advertising pro-America products. Leanne Miller is the owner. The story goes, I'm just seeing this for the first time. Leanne Miller would like an explanation from Facebook after the ad account for her business was disabled by the high-tech giant, seemingly for no other reason than being patriotic. Miller is a wife, mother, and business owner. In 2019, when her youngest son, Hollis, started college, she decided that after spending many wonderful years as a stay-at-home mom raising children, she would like to get back to work and help contribute to the financial stability of her family. So that year, 2 years ago now, Miller had an idea, holding the conviction that there is no better place on earth than the United States, and desiring to give back to her country, she founded Patriotic Me. One word, capital P, capital M. They're an online retailer. They sell clothing items. Said it took about a year to get things exactly how she wanted them, the products and the website. The apparel sold by Patriotic Me has an obvious patriotic flair. These are shirts adorned with red, white, and blue, or an outline of the United States. Hoodies with the American flag, hats you could proudly wear to your 4th of July cookout, and every other day too, just because you love America. And the business, which launched on September 11th, 2020, just recently to honor the heroic American first responders of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, was a success. Now their advertising account has been taken away. There's nothing political except America. Maybe red, white, and blue is now political. What do you think? You think red, white, and blue is political? Maybe Joe Biden, maybe his master plan and Commie Harris, maybe they want to change the colors. Maybe red, white, and blue, they don't want the colors to be out there anymore because they're planning to change them to, I don't know, what colors would Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders and Ilhan Omar and those, red and yellow, I think. I think maybe the new colors of the United States will be red and yellow. Maybe with, a red flag with some yellow stars on it. How about that? Maybe that's what they're planning. So naturally, this Patriotic Me selling red, white, and blue themed products would be an assault on the New World Order, the New America. Something more akin to China might be good. The China Communist Party, the CCP, as we affectionately call it. Now, I'm not saying anything negative about the Chinese people. The Chinese people are oppressed. The CCP is the oppressor, much like the Democratic Party of the USA. So, that's new. Thought you ought to know that. So, if you're looking to buy something, Patriotic Me. I don't have the website up right here. I don't see. I imagine it's probably patrioticme.com, but I don't know. If you just Google Patriotic Me, I'm sure you'll find it. I haven't had a chance to Google it. I just found it just now. Ron Paul is locked out of his Facebook account for violating community standards. That's Rand Paul's father. And Deutsche Bank reportedly has cut off Donald Trump by closing his personal accounts amid the Capitol riot fallout. I wonder if BLM had any of their bank accounts canceled after the riots this summer. Does Antifa even have a bank account? I don't know. BLM does. I know that they're in BLM Incorporated. Don't let the name Black Lives Matter fool you. It's Black lives don't matter to them. Money and community organizing and Marxism is what matters to them. Control. That's why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were so quick to help bail out the thugs who were looting and burning and occupying and tearing down statues. I don't imagine their bank accounts got canceled because they're the cool kids. Even though they kill, even though they maim, even though they're totally un-American. You know, it's trendy now to be un-American. Did you know that? On the leftists, and because the leftists sadly represent much of the millennials and younger. They are the cool kids. And the kids are being taught that in school and in our institutions of higher education, the elite, the intellectuals. Kids are being taught it's cool. It's cool to protest the First Amendment. It's cool to protest the Second Amendment. It's cool to want gun control. It's cool to riot and occupy and take a stand and kill and assault police officers and say defund the police. It's all cool now. Patriotism is dead. Revolution is cool. Sad day in America, isn't it? But we aren't going to give up. We can't give up. Now, if there's ever been a time when we need to stand together as patriotic Americans, know that we are standing alone as half the country, as the other half has gone full bore, unapologetically socialist, communist, control, gun control, no borders, free education, free health care. This is not going to go well. It can't go well. The ideas are tried and failed. The ideas are stupid. But you can't convince the intellectual of that because they know better than you. They're smarter than you. They're better than you. So, here's the latest. This is from 2 days ago. It's from a website called speakingaboutthenews.com. Now, I've not been to this site before. I got the link. They appear to be a conservative website. You know, just when I think I've got all my shortcuts for all of the news outlets I need, I've got everything. I get all the mainstream media. I've got so many other outlets. I mean, I have to pick and choose which ones I go to every day for to source some of my prep from. because there are so many of them. And every time I think I've got them all, something else pops up. Speaking about the news, Insurrection Act has been signed. The day we have all been waiting for. That's the headline. And I'm going to read you a little bit of the story. And this was 2 days ago. This was on Sunday. It's Sunday, January 10th, and one of my reliable sources has told me he was inbound to Camp Pendleton due to the Insurrection Act being signed. Do I know anybody in Patton? No, it's a fake call. So, Sunday, due to the Insurrection Act being signed, this guy, what the hell is this?
By a great health insurance plan.
Oh,
which will
shut
be
up.
going away until next year.
Oh, bite me. Bite me and drop dead. So this guy's a veteran, obviously, headed to Camp Pendleton. And the Insurrection Act has been signed. Now, again, I don't know this site. But so take it for what it's worth. I'm not passing it along to you as fact. I'm passing it along to you as information, something to weigh. But this actually ties into what I'm going to tell you next that just came out this morning and was corroborated by Mike Violet and his connection to somebody with the FBI. The article goes on, while this information was coming in, I watched Washington Dulles Airport go into lockdown. Nothing in, nothing out. This typically would indicate that POTUS was on the move. I also watched two aircraft exit the area or fill the area at the same time, not showing as AF-1, Air Force One, but something else, which, by the way, is not only very likely they would broadcast his movement, but would also show us something entirely different. We witnessed G.W. Bush do the same thing when he went to Baghdad during the war. His Air Force One 747 was actually squawking as a Gulfstream aircraft. So they hide the radio coverage. Anyway, so that's that. I'm not going to belabor that point. So the Insurrection Act, according to this article from Speaking About the News, was signed apparently on Sunday. Now, this appeared on Rumble. This was posted just this morning. And the headline on this is huge military movement in Washington, D.C., U.S. Capitol on lockdown. Parenthetically, it says something big is happening. And there's a video here on Rumble, of course, but it's a video of all kinds of armored vehicular traffic coming down the street. I mean, we've got Humvees, we've got Jeeps, we've got a host of different armored vehicles in this video. So, what does this mean? Well, we don't know. We don't know. The claim is something big is happening. Now, we've heard rumblings about this. We were talking about this yesterday for quite some time, as a matter of fact, that something may be going on. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying for a fact that this is happening. I mean, it could literally, I don't know. I have not seen any corroborating evidence yet from any news media that I've checked out that D.C. is in fact on lockdown right now. But I will look. I've been all over all the news sites. That would be a headline story, I would think. But I have not seen it. Could be just a convoy. I mean, we see convoys of armored vehicles on main roads in the summertime all the time. Literally convoys of them. You see them and they're headed to Camp Keys or one of the camps in Maine where they have these vehicles. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's just coincidental that it's happening at this time. But maybe it's not. Open mind. That's all I'm saying. Keep an open mind about this stuff. And we'll tell you more as soon as we get it. Amy, good morning. Welcome to the show. Appreciate having you there. 621-9759, 207-621-9759. And let's talk about what's going on. Let's start right here before we get into any more of the national stuff. And believe me, I'm gonna keep my eyes on what is going on throughout the morning. I mean, the headline on Fox News is the House is barreling toward impeachment, which is stupid. The headline on Newsmax right now, Trump and Pence signal president won't resign or be removed. And that doesn't mean he's not going to engage in a peaceful transition of power. It just means that they signal he will not be removed by the 25th Amendment, and Pence would know that, or by impeachment. And there's good evidence that he wouldn't be, even if there was a trial. It would just eat into Joe Biden's wonderful tenure as president, which, God forbid, is going to begin in 8 days from now. So let's get to what's happening in Maine real quick. This is a quick one. These mask mandates are taking their toll. New data, according to WGME, shows that 71 businesses have gotten a notice that they're in violation of COVID-19 restrictions. Kate Foy is the woman who is with the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development. She issued a statement regarding the citations. And here's what it says. The state places a high priority on voluntary compliance. Okay, there's a red flag right there. Voluntary compliance. It doesn't seem to be voluntary to me. What am I missing here? It's a mandate. People have lost their licenses. So where's the high priority on voluntary compliance? It's non-existent. So right there, she's lost most people. And it's encouraged by Maine people and businesses who are taking the very real threat of the virus seriously by following the state's health and safety protocols. The state first pursues an educational approach to violations of health and safety protocols, working with businesses to help them come into compliance. After an establishment has been educated on COVID-19 compliance, i.e., the governor's executive orders, if there is a subsequent observation of noncompliance, that means second chance, you get two chances, you get scolded the first time. The second time, an IHH will be issued to notify the establishment that this issue was observed, must be corrected, and compliance must be maintained. We demand compliance. In the event of continued noncompliance, the state has the option of taking action against a facility's operating license, and violations can be punishable by fine. Now, one of the local ones where we are here, we're in Augusta, Aunt Gin's in Whitefield, and I've got a little anecdote to go along with this. Aunt Gin's in Whitefield got a notice on December 15th for the staff not wearing face coverings and failure to implement measures to maintain a 6-foot distance between seated customers or customers in line. Patrons not wearing face coverings. And more. Now, let me tell you about Aunt Gin's. There's a little guy, a little dweeby guy, drives a Volvo. I'm sure it's got Bernie bumper stickers all over it, too. I mean, what Volvo driving around doing stuff like what I'm going to tell you this guy was doing wouldn't have Bernie Sanders, Save the Earth, Green New Deal, and stickers like that plastered all over the back of it? poster. I mean, a leftist driving a Volvo with stickers all over is a poster child for progressivism. So this guy, this little dweeby guy in the Volvo, every week drives into Aunt Jin's parking lot, gets out of his car with a notebook, walks up, and peeks in the windows to see if there are any violations. If he sees one, he immediately calls whoever, the health inspector, whoever you call. And word on the street is the people at the health department or wherever this guy calls is tired of hearing from him because they have to follow up on every complaint. And this guy is a prick of misery in their side because he has given himself, he has anointed himself the keeper of mask and distance mandates. And he is narking on people. He is a town snitch. And he's probably going all over central Maine. And probably a lot of these violations, 71 violations, probably many of them have been him or people he works with. The do-gooders. The people who care about getting businesses in trouble. It's capitalism. We can't let them do what they want to. Who do they think they are? No, who do you think you are, you little dweeb? What a pinhead. And there are people like this all over the place. Doing good. Oh, it's all for the greater good, isn't it? Get lost. So there's that. So that's what's going on. The mask mandates are being enforced, and they are ready to put the hammer down on you. If you have a moment of lapse where you pull your mask down, and just the mask down over your nose is a no-no. There are people, literally, I'm not lying to you. I'm not lying to you. I've heard people do this. Say this. I've overheard people doing this. If a waiter pulls their mask down from their nose, under their nose for whatever reason, maybe so they're glad they can breathe without fogging their glasses, they're ready to pounce. That's a violation. You could lose your license for that, a lapse in judgment. Yeah. This is what tyranny feels like. This is what it looks like, too, by the way. Stick around. Got more to come. A lot more to come. I'm John James. Freedom's Pep Rally. You'll be right back.
WSKW, Central Maine's Heritage Station.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
Take it to Moody's.
you want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
Townline Antiques wants to know, what are you shopping for today? Searching for furniture to add to your home? Townline Antiques has beautiful pieces of furniture for every room, built to last with quality materials from the past. Thinking of decorating in a classic style? You'll find enchanting home decor, artwork, glassware, and hundreds more items around every corner. Do you love collecting books, comics, coins, sports memorabilia, watches, or classic electronics? Townline Antiques has cool, rare, and one-of-a-kind items to add to your collection that you won't find anywhere else. And if you love searching through treasures of the past, here's more great news. Town Line Antiques has expanded with extra booth space. Now there are even more quality antiques to browse every time you visit. Plus, there are a limited number of dealer spaces now available. If you'd like to learn more about selling at Town Line Antiques, just stop in. Town Line Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5. Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Chance for a few light snow showers through the hills and mountains this morning in portions of central Maine, becoming partly to mostly sunny for today, with highs in the mid to upper 30s. Another nice day tomorrow, partly sunny, mid-30s. Some more clouds move in Thursday and Friday with highs near 40 degrees. Rain and some mountain snow arrives overnight Friday into Saturday.
Your pep rally for freedom is back. Powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
Good morning. Welcome back to Freedom's Pep Rally. Morning, Lisa, Corey, Max, Amy. Who else we get in here? Pete, you're coming for me tomorrow. What do you mean you're coming for me tomorrow? What's that mean? That sounds like a threat. What the hell does that mean? Coming for you tomorrow. Well, that sounds like something we ought to get the police involved in to me, Pete. Sounds like a threat to me. I'll be lucky if I have a job after? Really? All right. I'm dying to see what this is about. Tomorrow, he's coming tomorrow. Okay, let's see. A manager at Bull Moose reprimanded a customer for having his mask below his nose. Coincidentally, he had a Republican-themed mask. Interesting. Thank you for that. Over on Right America Media, Christy, good morning to you, Christy. Now we've got a couple of people there, it looks like, on Right America Media right now. Watching too, and I haven't been over to American Women Who Bear Arms. By the way, you can get us 24/7 at legacy1160.com, and you can also get the video from 6 to noon. And the video is brought to you by Moody's Collision Center. The audio is brought to you by Harry J. Smith Company on Sanger Avenue in Waterville. Well, another leftist is triggered. Sabo. I don't know. Am I saying that right? Sabo is a street artist. And he does street art. Sabo does street art. He was on Capitol Hill during the rally and the riot. And boy, he really triggers leftist politicians in Hollywood. He's using the left's own rhetoric. He's even pissed off Donald Trump. I mean, the guy is an equal opportunity offender, I guess. But it's so much easier to trigger the left. Sabo used the left's own rhetorical tropes to call attention to the case of Ashley Babbitt. She is the Air Force veteran who was shot and killed by Capitol Police. We still don't know why. By the way, we still don't understand. We still have no clue as to why she was shot. She was unarmed. Many of the protesters were actually escorted into the building, and Sabo said that. Sabo told PJ Media that the left continually tells us that they aren't dangerous if they're not armed. Right? If they don't have a weapon, they aren't dangerous. The left says this all the frickin' time. Oh, he shot an unarmed person. Well, oftentimes, that unarmed person has a knife that's armed, They are attempting to do harm to another person physically with their bare hands, a threat to life. That's armed. That's a clear and present threat. You don't have to have a weapon to be considered armed. You don't. I mean a gun. You don't have to have a gun. If you feel your life is in danger, or you're in danger of great bodily harm, you have the right to use lethal force. That's the benchmark. And from every video I've seen, from the angles I've seen, she made no gestures toward the officer. She didn't threaten anybody. Sure, should she have been there? Well, no. Nobody should have been inside the building. We don't know who all the people inside the building were. There may have been Antifa. In fact, there's a good bit there was Antifa. Nobody should have been inside the building. I'll give you that. But that is not reason to pick a person out of a crowd and shoot them dead. And this officer, by the way, wasn't even, you couldn't see, from the angle I saw, you could see him in the doorway raising his gun, aiming it, and pulling the trigger. There was nobody in really close proximity to him. And from other angles, I saw no threat. So there is that question. So anyway, back to Sabo. Sabo asks, why was she killed? We spent a summer watching BLM and Antifa burn, loot, and murder from coast to coast while law enforcement stood down and did nothing. Why her? Unlike Breonna Taylor, Ashley was never found to have a dead body in a truck, in the trunk of her car. Her boyfriend wasn't a drug dealer. Unlike George Floyd, she wasn't high on drugs, resisting arrest when she was killed by police. He said, I want this image to be used to honor her in the same way the left has honored their own who have died. Now, the poster of Babbitt that Sabo did was put on Instagram. I have not seen it, but it was posted on Instagram, and people, of course, the lunatics, came out of the woodwork saying she deserved what she got. Here are some of the comments. One said, went to D.C. and came out deceased. Oh, that's clever. Woo! That's clever, boy, I'll tell you. You ought to get some kind of an award. Yeah, you probably will. Maybe you'll get a Nobel Peace Prize for that. You deserve it about as much as Obama did. Another one said, with a laugh emoji, dead Karen. This woman was a military veteran for 14 years. But they don't care about the military. They don't like the military. They don't want the military. They don't want borders. They don't want the military. Peace, not war. You see them protesting all the time. Peace and love of all our fellow man. These are mooks. Another one claimed Babbitt was burning in hell. How dare they? But you know how they dare to do stuff like this? Because they're keyboard warriors. They're sitting in their basement. They think they're God's gift of knowledge and wisdom, and they're saying stupid stuff. Probably have who would hire people like that? They can't possibly have jobs. Either that or they're anonymous. How many people are anonymous? Oh, they're big speakers, boy. Big speakers, they just don't want anybody to know who they are. Have the cojones to come on a show like this. Say your name and state your side of the story. State how you feel. Say something like that. If that's the way you feel, call up and say your name and say, well, I think Ashley Babbitt was a Karen. She's burning in hell. You wouldn't dare to do it. Nobody would. Because they know when they're doing it, it's idiotic and stupid. But they're so angry, they're so enraged all the time, they have to do it to get it out of their heathenistic system. A woman who goes by the handle of Mandatory Carrie said, don't be absurd. They can't say her name. She's a actual victim. Another responded that she was a victim of her own stupidity. But guys like this guy in Kenosha, Wisconsin, wasn't a victim of his own stupidity. I forget his name. The cop, by the way, has been not charged with killing the guy in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The guy, the domestic assault guy who jumped into his car and was reaching for something when he was shot. Oh, why'd they have to shoot him? Well, because he was a clear and present danger to life of the police officers. They had no idea what he was grabbing for. By the time they saw a weapon, if that's what he was going for, it would have been too late. They had every right. The cop had every right to shoot this guy. Every right, every reason. I haven't seen any reason why they shot Ashley Babbitt. And nobody's talking about it. Because she broke in. She didn't break in. She was just part of the crowd. None of them should have been in there. In my mind, they should have stayed outside. That would have been the wise thing to do. That would have been, where I come from, that would have been the guy in the white hat. I think you've got a white hat all the way up until you break through the doors or follow those who broke through the doors into a building you shouldn't be in. If you have to break into it, then you shouldn't be in there. 9:57, back with more. Got to take a break. I'm John James.
1160 WSKW.
Sales and service by a family who cares. Whittemore and Sons, Whittemore and Sons.
There are some things you can simply never depend on, like getting your morning coffee just the way you like it every day. I mean, you order it the same way. How is it different today? But know that you can always count on Whittemore & Sons in our line of Coyote tractors. Coyote tractors are machines made to work, whether it's mowing, tilling, digging, lifting, or hauling. Check out the full line of tough and versatile Coyote tractors, attachments, implements, and accessories at Whittemore & Sons, your Coyote tractor dealer, with dependable sales in service for over 50 years. Run ahead of the pack with a Coyote tractor from Whittemore & Sons on the Waterville Road in Skowhegan. Sales and service by a family who cares.
From work to fun, we'll help you get it done. Whittemore & Sons. Outdoor power equipment.
Hi, this is Teresa Smith, Director of Advising at Kennebec Valley Community College. On behalf of everyone at KVCC, I'd like to wish you all a safe, happy, and healthy new year. And speaking of the new year, it's not too late to take that next step on your educational journey. Classes for the Spring Flex Start semester begin on February 1st, and with more than 30 programs to choose from, KVCC has something for you. Whether you're a high school student who wants to get a jump on college, or a long-term employee hoping to take your career in a new direction, Flex Start is a great option. As always, KVCC's admissions team is ready to answer your questions and guide you through the application process. You can reach us by calling 453-5822, or easier yet, 453-KVCC. Don't spend the winter watching the snow pile up. Make the most of the new year by joining us for Flex Start on February 1st.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Andrew Dimber. The Trump administration is asking states to speed delivery of COVID-19 vaccines to people older than 65 and others at high risk by no longer holding back the second dose of the 2-dose shots.
We're calling on our governors to now vaccinate people age 65 and over and under age 65 with a comorbidity, because we have got to expand the group. It has been overly hospitalized so far in too many states.
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar on Good Morning America. President Trump and Vice President Pence on Monday spoke for the first time since their conversation last Wednesday morning before the violent insurrection at the Capitol. The FBI issuing a bulletin alerting law enforcement across the country that armed protests are being planned at all 50 state capitals through Inauguration Day. Intelligence pointing to an unnamed armed group calling for the storming of government buildings and courthouses if President Trump is removed from office before January 20th. This is ABC News. Some lawmakers are now calling for stepped-up fines on unruly air passengers, especially after the Capitol Hill riot and before Inauguration Day. Here's ABC's Megan Tavrezian.
The crackdown comes as videos emerge showing a growing number of incidents on flights to and from D.C. after the riot. The list of banned passengers also growing. United Airlines banning 60 people for mask violations just last week, and Alaska Airlines banning 14 people on one flight alone. The FAA tweeting that federal law prohibits you from physically assaulting or threatening to physically assault the crew and anyone else on an aircraft. You could be subject to fines up to $35,000 and imprisonment.
After the deadly crash of a passenger jet in the waters off Indonesia, dive teams have now found one black box, and officials say they're close to the cockpit voice recorder. Its pings are being heard in the same area. 62 people were on the plane when it went down. Andrew Dimber, ABC News.
Want to hear how I almost got off the naughty list this year? I helped Santa save gazillions by having him download Capital One Shopping to his computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. You can download it too and save a bundle. You don't even need a Capital One card, and it's free. So why didn't I get off the naughty list? Turns out Santa's a stickler for naughty words. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
Nya, nya, nya. Ba, ba, Babue, Zimbabwe. The broken Bunsen burner burns so bright. Southeast Asian Peninsula.
Hey, Jamie?
Yes?
I think the only line we need from you today is drivers who switch to Progressive could say big.
Cool. I just got to finish my warm-ups. Foul, throw in the towel. History.
Switch to Progressive today.
Santa ski slalom in a salmon skin suit.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
And now, the show that highlights America's most intelligent people.
And I have all of this! All of it! Because I was allowed bodily autonomy at 15.
She had an abortion.
I want to tell you, Kavanaugh.
She had an abortion at 15. That's why she has all her riches.
Freedom's Pep Rally with John James.
Can we do that story now? All right. I want to, that one, people wonder, I've gotten who is that woman who's screaming at what is she talking about? She's talking about her abortion. And I've got it in my pile of stuff here. If I can find it, I'll let you hear it all in context. I don't know where it is. We'll have to get to it some other time. I've got so much stuff here. We've got to get through this anyway. So we'll get to that sometime. Quite interesting. It was all part of the event that happened on the steps or at the foot of the steps on the Supreme Court this past year. It had to have been in 2019. Had to have been, because you couldn't have gatherings like that without masks. In 2020, man, that year went by fast, didn't it? It seemed to drag, but when you think about it, it doesn't seem that long ago when we were normal, before the mask mandates, before the edicts, before the imperialism began. 10:04 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Donald Trump has acknowledged, get this, Donald Trump has acknowledged that he bears some blame for the Capitol riot last week during a conversation with House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy. According to Fox News, two sources say that McCarthy, who's from California, he's a Republican, relayed the president's sentiment on a call Monday with a House GOP conference. McCarthy was on the call Monday with Republicans and agreed that Trump bore blame for the unrest, which sent Congress into lockdown as they were trying to certify the results of the presidential election, which they ultimately did. No response from the White House, but kind of interesting. And Kevin McCarthy, I mean, he's an ally of the president. Why would he lie? So, what's going to happen with impeachment? Is that a good idea? Do you think that's a good idea? Nancy Pelosi just wants to have a hand in getting rid of him, even if he's already gone. It's theatrics. Part of it's theatrics. Part of it is seeing that he can never run again. Because Nancy Pelosi has zero respect for 75 plus million Americans. She has no respect. We aren't even Americans. We are dead to her, except that we can vote. Oh, did you hear about Cumulus Broadcasting? I don't know if they have any more outlets here in Maine. They used to. They used to own a bunch of stations. Blueberry bought up most of them. Blueberry and Town Square Media bought up most of them, if not all of them. For some reason, I think Cumulus may still have some stake in Maine. But they've said that any of their talk show hosts, they include some big names, like Dan Bongino, Ben Shapiro, any of their talent who denies the election results as true and honest and pure as the driven snow, if they call question into whether or not Joe Biden was elected honestly and fairly, they will lose their jobs. Cumulus Media. How about that? Well, we aren't owned by Cumulus Media. We're a small company. Thank God. Believe me, I've worked for corporations. I'm not a big corporate guy. I don't care for corporate radio. Because everything, the corporation wants to control everything right down to the local level in a lot of cases. That's one of several reasons I left corporate radio. Will I ever go back? I'm not saying I won't. You know, you do strange things when you need a job, right? But Cumulus Broadcasting, quashing free speech of its radio people. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going. They're stifling people. Only people on the right. I've heard no evidence of anybody on the left being shut down, canceled. This Patriotic Me company, I couldn't believe it. When I read that on the Blaze this morning, Patriotic Me, they sell patriotic clothing. Not even political. What I saw, their advertising account is banned on Facebook because Facebook has progressives in charge. Progressives hate America. Well, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. So anyway, let's Sorry, I get off on a tangent there, which is easy for me to do. By the way, at 11 o'clock, we have a real great American woman on the show. She's from Massachusetts. She goes by the moniker The Liberty Doll. And she's been a social media influencer for years. She is a huge, huge supporter of the Second Amendment. That's where I first came to know the Liberty Doll. She was doing all kinds of gun stuff. Always talking about the Second Amendment and the infringements on it. And so I got to know her, and I published a lot of her stuff on our website, American Women Who Bear Arms. And I've never had her on the radio, so this is going to be good. I'll have her on the radio this morning just after 11 o'clock. And she's trying to get out of Massachusetts, by the way. I guess even with a rhino, a Republican in name-only governor, that would be Charlie Baker in charge. I guess it's still pretty tyrannical there in Massachusetts. So she's trying to get out and having a hard time right now. And we'll talk to her about that. We'll talk to her about what she thinks of the election, and we'll talk about all the stuff we can talk about because we're a free country, and this is a free speech radio station. I'm lucky. I've been pretty autonomous. So is Mike. We're left alone. We're left to our own devices, and it seems to be working okay. It's 10:11 right now, and so. How does this affect Joe Biden's presidency in terms of his cabinet and other legislation necessary to address the COVID-19 crisis? And this goal, this pie-in-the-sky goal he has to unite the country, which I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at that. I am laughing every time I say that Joe is going to unite the country. And now, that is a question, by the way, from a House Democratic aide who spoke with NBC News. He remained anonymous. Of course, this guy should be punished, talking about Trump, he says. But how can we do this in a way that doesn't negatively affect a country that is still reeling from an ongoing health and economic crisis? Neither of which, by the way, are Donald Trump's fault. Although Donald Trump's to blame for it all. The aide also said that some moderate Democrats worry the impeachment would harden Trump's base and turn him into a martyr instead of keeping him on his heels with a fractured GOP. But still, others say the Democrats are united on impeachment. Nancy Pelosi, yes. AOC, Ilhan, I married my brother to come to America, Omar. Rashida, impeach the mother effer Tlaib. They're all on board with impeachment because they hate Donald Trump. So, in fact, they really can't hate him enough. So where's Joe Biden in all this? Where is Connie Harris? They should be out there encouraging Congress to let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Unity. Healing. Where is it, Joe? Where is it? You're fixing to let Congress drive a big old wedge between the left and, well, not that it's not going to be there anyway, but you aren't helping. You aren't helping. You're all talk and no walk. So are you, Kamala. You're all squawk and no walk. Kamala. If I hear that laugh again, I am going to smack myself upside the head with a hammer. I'm going to wear my, I've got my nice Ruger shooting muffs I can put on whenever she speaks. I can't stand. She, to me, is she's another Hillary. I mean, could he have chosen a worse candidate for vice president who is probably going to end up being president? Could he have chosen anybody worse, anybody more annoying, anybody more pompous, anybody more self-serving, anybody more opportunistic? I think not. Then Kamala Harris. It was a debate, Stephen Colbert. It was a debate. That's why she excoriated Joe Biden during the primaries. That's what she said when Stephen Colbert asked her. Stephen, not funny, not talented, a mook, a shell of his former self, a moron, a bootlicker. Thank you. I'm throwing your terms back at you there, lefties. A bootlicker. So, Kamala, you were pretty good in the primaries there, and you went right after Joe Biden. It was a debate. That was her response. That's just how she answered it. It was, and she'd laugh every time. Every time she's uncomfortable, which is all the time, she laughs. She cackles. Cackles. I don't know. I'm going to put together a cackle montage of her and Hillary. You know, we might make that into a contest. Wouldn't that be a great contest? We'll give away something big. Maybe a house. No, I'm kidding. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a montage of cackles. Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. And I'm going to put them all back to back and mix them up. And you're going to have to give me the correct order of the cackles. You know, it could be Hillary, Kamala, Hillary. Or it could, and we'll give a prize out for the first person to get it right. So we've got unity. We've got healing. We've got Joe Biden. Where's my walker? Jill? Where's the basement? I've got a press. You notice everything he does, every press conference he has is from Wilmington, Delaware. I don't know if he's been out of Wilmington more than 2 or 3 times in the last 8 months. Every time he's on, live from Wilmington, Delaware. Sorry, don't mean to laugh at senility. I don't. We've all known senile people. I'm questioning whether or not I have senility oftentimes. But I'm not running or I didn't run for president of the free world. First of all, my wife, if I was that senile, my wife would have stepped in front of me and said, don't do this. Don't do this. Where is Jill? Whoopi Goldberg says Jill she's a hell of a doctor. She's a great doctor. She ought to be Surgeon General. Whoopi Goldberg said that. That's what she said on The View. Jill Biden, she's a hell of a doctor. She's a great doctor. She'll be Surgeon General. So if she's so smart, why doesn't Joe Biden listen to her? Or why doesn't she tell Joe Biden, her husband, Joe, your time has really passed. You haven't won. This is like your 3rd or 4th try for president of the United States. Now you're a little bit older. You don't know me from your sister. Probably not a good idea. But no, he did it. And Kamala, Kamala's forgotten all about, what's her name there? Tara Reid. Woman accused Joe Biden of rape. Soon as she thought she might have a shot at the vice president, she forgot all about Tara Reid. But now we've got unity and healing. God bless Joe Biden. So if the president's impeached, all right, by the House, and it goes to trial, let's say, in the Senate, Biden's first year in office will be marred by a focus on Donald Trump rather than solving the problems in the country and tackling his agenda. Not that that would be a bad thing, because his agenda will ruin America, basically. Chuck Schumer didn't hide the fact that he hates America. He hates it the way it is. I mean, he likes the land, okay? The land's nice. Got nice mountains, nice oceans, nice pasture. Well, we have pastures right now. Pretty soon it's going to be nothing except very distracting reflections from the acres and acres and acres of solar panels, which you need literally thousands of square miles of, because the sun doesn't always shine and the battery technology does not store the energy long enough to make them a viable alternative to oil and gas generation or oil and coal generation. But he doesn't like America as the land of the free and the home of the brave. He couldn't wait for that Georgia election to be over because he wants to change America. Listen.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
We take Georgia, then we change America. All right, Chuck. Time for him to retire, too, I think. See what we've got on Facebook here. Oh, goodness. Well, I don't know where the comments went. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, her laugh is insane, Jay. Drives me crazy. Shannon, crazy Nancy wants to make sure he does not run again in 2024, not get his pension, no health care, no Secret Service protection. I don't think he's too worried about health care or pension. The Secret Service is a nice touch, and so is the ability to run again. Yeah, Nancy is crazy. And yeah, that's the big reason. You know, they would rather do the impeachment deal than the 25th Amendment, because then he could run again. They want to make it so he can never run again. That is code. That's a dog whistle, by the way. There's another term it's a dog whistle. What is that dog whistle? Well, the dog whistle is we don't want Donald Trump supporters, Americans who love America. We don't want to give them the chance to vote for Donald Trump in 2024 because they're too stupid to know what's good for them. I'm Nancy Pelosi. Look at my $25,000 freezers here in my house. I've got a pair of them. It's full. It's full of ice cream. Not just any ice cream, but very expensive ice cream. How do you think I got that? Because I'm smart. I'm smarter than the people down there in the shitty. Sorry about that. That was a Freudian slip, because they are literally living in human feces and hypodermic needles in her district. She is so smart. No, she's not. No, she's not. She's an elitist who cares about nobody but Nancy Pelosi and looking like she rules the Capitol. And this is part of what it's all about. That, and she doesn't want to take a chance that the stupid conservatives will elect Donald Trump in another 4 years. So we'll just make it so he can't run. No, she wouldn't have made it on her own. Good morning, Gina. Hi, Paul. Everybody should quit and make their own independent media. You know what, Amy? That's not a bad idea. And you know, we might be able to. You know what we might be able to do if the internet they want. You know what the left wants? They want conservative voices silenced on the internet. I mean, let alone social media. The internet. They're out of their minds. They are freaking out of their... They look normal. They walk like normal human beings. They speak normally. Sometimes you can tell. Sometimes you can tell by the way they speak. They just have that air about them. You know who I'm talking about. They have a certain air about them. But not always. Oftentimes, they're just regular people like you and me. The far leftists. But boy, oh boy, they are out of their minds. They're wackos. Woohoo! Woohoo! Waffle, 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 waffle. And they want to stop all discourse unless it agrees with their narrative. Because when you go against their narrative, they get pissed off big time. Not just pissed off, they get enraged. Their face turns red. They sweat. It's like they're eating a handful of ghost peppers. They look like they're going to explode. And they do on social media. And in their circles of friends. I love it when a liberal comes up and talks to me like, they don't know me from Adam, and they start talking, we have a conversation. They'll start talking to me like they just assume I'm also a leftist. Trump, what a lousy president Trump is. Good thing Biden won. And I said, well, actually, I wish Donald Trump had won. I haven't had that conversation yet, but similarly, I've had similar conversations. Trump's such a jerk. Said, well, actually, I'm a big supporter of Donald Trump and what he's done. He gets a little carried away on Twitter sometimes. He says some things that make my head spin. I wish he would never say. But I agree with everything he's done for the most part. They don't come unglued at me. Later they'll come unglued when they get around their friend. You won't believe the guy I talked to today trying to defend Donald Trump. And you see them, they get on social media. I can't believe I talked to somebody today trying to defend Donald Trump, the orange Hitler. Okay. If they didn't have names and rage, what would they have? Nothing. Nothing at all. 10:27, got to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160, WSKW.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center. If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go, take it to Moody's. You want to get on with your life, get on with the show, take it to Moody's. Good people you can trust, and it won't be a fuss. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers. MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first. Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
Townline Antiques wants to know, what are you shopping for today? Searching for furniture to add to your home? Townline Antiques has beautiful pieces of furniture for every room, built to last with quality materials from the past. Thinking of decorating in a classic style? You'll find enchanting home decor, artwork, glassware, and hundreds more items around every corner. Do you collect books, comics, coins, sports memorabilia, watches, or classic electronics? Townline Antiques has cool, rare, and one-of-a-kind items to add to your collection that you won't find anywhere else. If you love searching through the treasures of the past, here's more great news. Townline Antiques has expanded with extra booth space. Now there are even more quality antiques to browse every time you visit. Plus, there are a limited number of dealer spaces now available. If you'd like to learn more about selling at Townline Antiques, just stop in. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5. Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassaboro Town Line.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Chance for a few light snow showers through the hills and mountains this morning and portions of central Maine, becoming partly to mostly sunny for today with highs in the mid to upper 30s. Another nice day tomorrow, partly sunny, mid 30s. Some more clouds move in Thursday and Friday with highs near 40 degrees. Rain and some mountain snow arrives overnight Friday into Saturday.
Your pep rally for freedom is back. Powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
Try to get a Gun Owners of Maine and big shooterist Jeff Zimba on the show. And maybe I get a text from here. He's a hard guy to get. He's such a busy guy. But with these Okay. No, that wasn't from Jeff. Okay. Jeff Zimba is a good guy to talk to when you have any questions about anything conservative, anything sensible, or anything about guns. He is the ballistic evangelist. That's his title. He's the ballistic evangelist for the Gun Owners of Maine. And he's an author. He's a personality. He's a great writer. He's a fantastic addition to any show. He was on when we had Ted Nugent. Duh. He was on with us when Ted Nugent was on a 3 months ago. And he just adds so much. And with the armed standoff, or not, there I go again. I'm getting ahead of myself. With the armed protests likely happening in many state capitals, I would just like to get his thoughts on this. And we're gonna talk about that coming up. What are you talking about? Well, I'll tell you. You just hang in there. We'll get to that coming up. And at 11 o'clock, just after the news, we have the Liberty Doll, who has a show every week. She does a show from her studio in Massachusetts. And you can see a picture of her on American Women Who Bear Arms. I think it's on all our pages we share with Right America Media, Legacy 1160, American Women Who Bear Arms. It's on my page. And you can check her out if you want to at thelibertydoll.com. She's very politically connected. She's a big Second Amendment supporter, and she's going to be great here this morning. I just was told that parts of the video were blocked because CBS has issued a rights claim. To what? To what, the bumper music? All right, just tell me if we're not still on, tell me. Get so sick and tired of that because we pay online rights. We do. We pay for online rights for all this music. It's very expensive, too, by the way. So, impeachment. We'll see if it goes any further today. Senator Joe Manchin said during an interview on Fox News Special Report with Brett Baier that he doesn't think there will be sufficient support in the Senate to convict Trump if he is impeached. But this will take time. It's just time. And they, even after the term is over, they're still going to be wasting time trying to impeach him. They are so funny. It's pathetic funny, but it's funny. They are just dumb. They need to secure 67 votes for a conviction if the House impeaches him. 10:34. Okay, let's talk about armed protests. People feel differently about this. I get that. People on the same side feel differently about this. The FBI is monitoring online plans for armed protests in capitals across the country and in D.C. leading up to the inauguration. Now, that's interesting in a place like Washington, D.C., and some other places. Because Washington, D.C., the seat of our nation's government, doesn't allow guns. What? But that's the capital of the country. That's where they protect our rights, where they protect our constitutional rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the founding documents. So they protect. No guns. Listen, if you're a resident in this communist district led by Muriel, I want to be the leader of the new state of D.C., whatever it'll be called, Bowser, then you know that if you want to get a permit to carry a gun in Washington, D.C., you'd better well have deep pockets and a good reason why you need to carry a gun. And my husband threatened to kill me is not enough. How on earth is something like that possible in a country like America? Anywhere in America? Do we not all live under the same Constitution? Do we not all answer to the same rule of law? Apparently not. Wow. So, how is there going to be an armed standoff in Washington, D.C.? Again, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't mean to use standoff. Just when you think of armed, that's the word that typically follows. It's an armed protest. So, how would you? Because you're going to get arrested if you open carry arms in Washington, D.C. You shouldn't get arrested. No, you shouldn't. Because, the Constitution. How on earth has our government allowed the rule of law to go so awry that states can make laws limiting the Constitution? That's totally unconstitutional. Now, states are allowed, as my constitutional course reminds me, if I remember correctly, and I think I do, if states want to be more liberal about what the Constitution says are our rights, they can do that. But you can't, I don't know, how do you want to put it, declaw the Constitution at your whim. So, if we have the right to keep and bear arms, how on earth do different regions, different municipalities, different states interpret that differently? How? It makes no sense. Maine is good. New Hampshire and Vermont, believe it or not, are good. Not the best, but they're pretty good. We've got constitutional carry in all three of those states. Arizona's a great state. Florida's a great state for guns. I don't think Florida does not have constitutional carry. I wouldn't be surprised to see it passed before Ron DeSantis is out of office. But it all depends on what the legislature or the assembly or whatever they call it there. Alany would know that, whatever they call it there in Florida. I don't know if they would go for it. But Florida is a very gun-friendly state. In fact, the only place I've ever shot a machine gun, I shot in Florida. Inside I shot inside. You know where that is, Alan, right? It's right on the Irwin Bronson Freeway. Irwin, is that right? Erwin Bronson Freeway. I forget the number. Right there in Kissimmee by Old Town. It's called Machine Gun America, and it's pricey, but boy, oh boy, if you've never shot an automatic rifle, a real assault rifle, oh man, wow. It's freaking awesome is what it is. So these armed protests are being planned. According to an internal FBI bulletin, armed protests are being planned in all 50 state capitals, and they don't get real specific, from the 16th of January at least through the 20th of January. And at the U.S. Capitol from January 17th to the 20th. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to work in D.C. or a lot of these other places where you aren't allowed by law, I guess, and I love this, if this is what they're doing, I love this. Now, I'm not saying I would go anyplace armed. I don't think, I really don't know, and I'll tell you why. I'll justify that. Believe me, I'm all 2A, 100%, all the way, baby. But I think they're going to have to usurp power. They're not really usurping it. They're just using their God-given, that's what inalienable means, their God-given right, which is protected by the Constitution, by the way, to carry lethal force, to carry a weapon, to carry a gun. A legal gun. Law-abiding gun owners carrying legal guns. And the Constitution says we can. Our Creator says we can. We have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What part of life and liberty do you not understand? Leftists? Life and liberty can be protected by whatever means necessary. If it's a gun, well, so be it. Shut up and get used to it. So, I love it. I mean, if they're going to take guns into a place where you aren't allowed to have, into a municipality, I understand there are places where you can't take guns inside government buildings, all this stuff. I understand that. They do have these rules. I don't necessarily agree with these rules, but they do have these rules. They have the gun-free zones, schools, and so forth, which I think makes schools more dangerous. Again, my opinion. But a municipality that just arbitrarily says you can't carry a gun outdoors, you are not allowed to. Well, I'm sorry. I disagree with that. My Creator says I can. I have that right. That was a God-given right. It's an inalienable right. And you have no right to tell me I can't. You cannot declaw the Constitution at whim. So, I'm sorry. Say what you want. I've got my gun. I'm coming in. I'm going to be peaceful. Try and stop me. Will there be arrests? Will the police? That's a big question, isn't it? A lot of places, including at least a couple of counties in Virginia, when Governor Ralph Baby Killer Gun Hater Northam started putting all these stupid, asinine gun edicts down, some of the police said, sorry, we aren't going to enforce your unconstitutional laws, Ralph Baby Killer Gun Hater Northam. I know. In fact, I love this. One of the counties actually was giving tax money to militias in Virginia, knowing that militias are, like them or not, think they're redneck hillbillies or not, when the SHTF, you might be glad there's a militia around to protect your sorry butt. So will the police enforce unconstitutional laws? Be very telling. If all the police everywhere, and I know there are some anti-gun cops, drives me crazy. But if all police everywhere refused to enforce the law that says you can't have certain guns in certain areas, you can't have, you can't own assault weapons, so-called assault weapons, and you certainly can't open carry them. If all police refuse to enforce an unconstitutional law or edict, they'd have what would they do? They'd have to fire the whole police department. Oh, that would work well, wouldn't it? It would take solidarity, but maybe it's time people engaged in a little solidarity and didn't act out of fear. Well, I've got to arrest him. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. I know he's not doing anything, but he's got a gun on his side in a holster here in D.C., and that's illegal. I'm sorry, I've got to arrest him, or I'm going to get in trouble. This is a lesson in scruples. So what are you going to do? You're going to arrest a guy who's really not breaking a law that should be enforced? Or are you going to turn the other cheek and stand up for the Constitution? I'm sure there are people who would do both. It would take a lot of people to defy the orders of the government to arrest a law-abiding citizen with a gun in order to make it a moot point. We'll see what happens. But there are definitely some capitals, I don't know about New York's capital. I imagine Sacramento. I imagine that's probably no open. I don't know. There are some places in California that are very conservative and very gun-friendly, although California as a whole is not very gun-friendly, so it wouldn't surprise me if you weren't allowed to carry anywhere in the state without proving you need to carry a gun and having the big bucks to spend. And by the way, you also in California now, you also have to get a background check to buy a box of ammunition. Another one of Gavin Newsom's stupid edicts. We get 1047 right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. So here's what they're saying. Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland addressed security concerns for his state and D.C. during the briefing on Monday about these armed protests. Quote, "We are taking additional security measures here at the State House with the Capitol Police and the Maryland State Police. I have a security team briefing later on in the afternoon, not only to talk about the situation in Maryland, but our additional assistance in Washington with all of our allied police forces in Maryland and with our National Guard. And this may be why you've seen a lot of military traffic in Washington, D.C. in the past 24 hours. I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions out there. We're just going to have to wait and see. But you should know what is going on in the periphery so you aren't completely blindsided if something happens. If, for example, your EAS notification on your phone or on the TV start to blur it and there's not a thunderstorm or something rolling around, you better pay attention. That's another thing that's rumored to possibly be happening. For what reason? That's a $10,000 question. But don't be surprised. NBC News is in panic mode over this armed protest deal because, you know, they as an industry, mainstream media hates guns. They're all about gun control, and especially NBC. You've got all those Nazis. Yeah, and I'm calling them Nazis. I mean, I'm just throwing it back at them for a change. You've got these Nazis who want to disarm people. Now, that's real Nazism. You want to talk about being a Nazi? Donald Trump, not a Nazi. Chuck Todd, Andrea Mitchell, all those mooks, Nazis. All right? You want to compare? That's apples and apples. Trump and Nazis, apples and oranges. MSNBC, NBC, and Nazis, apples and apples. So NBC News has hit full panic mode. Here is a report from NBC News.
A new FBI memo warning about the possibility of armed protests across all 50 state capitals ahead of Inauguration Day. A senior law enforcement official also saying that an armed group is threatening to travel to Washington to stage an uprising if President Trump is removed from office. NBC News investigations correspondent Tom Winter joins me now. Tom, what else do you know? What else can you tell us about these potential protests, and how are law enforcement agencies preparing given the security failures we saw at the Capitol last week?
Right, Allison, two great questions. So the FBI's National Crisis Coordination Center put out a
sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Information gathered by the ATF, the DEA, the Park Service, Parks Police, I should say, the U.S. Marshals, DOD, essentially putting together and saying, well, what are we seeing out there that's open source? What are we hearing from our own sources of information? What are we getting from social media? And a couple of key themes emerged as a result of that reporting. The first is this idea that starting perhaps on or around the 17th of January, there's going to be the potential for armed protests at state capitals, and particularly the state capitals where there have been issues raised as far as the electoral vote tally and certification that's been done. So I think we all know the states at this point. And then on top of that, you've got some reporting that if for somehow Congress invokes the 25th Amendment on or around January 16th, that there could be a armed uprising in the nation's capital, where, of course, we just had problems. Now, of course, there's an issue with that, Allison. Congress can't invoke the 25th Amendment, so not quite sure where all that's coming from. But the bottom line is, look, this is very consistent with what we saw leading up to the 6th. This is very consistent with what we've seen since online and in social media. And we've got a situation where we have a segment of the U.S. population that believes that there is a need for an armed protest or armed uprising at various sites to protest the results of this election. And obviously law enforcement, if anybody needed to be woken up to that fact, an alarm clock of epic scales went off last week.
Oh, an alarm clock of epic scales. Woo! That's good. That's a very descriptive language in that report. Trust me, the armed protests, as I see them, and maybe I'm wrong, the armed protests are just to remind those in power that, hey, we're here. Don't forget about us. I mean, you look at the armed protests in Michigan when Gretchen dictator Whitmer, the governor there, they were all scared. Their panties were all up in a bunch. You had these guys, they're open carrying. They were open carrying, and the guns, it's terrible. The threat is terrible. No, they're just saying, hey, we're out here. Now, personally, I don't think I would go to an armed protest. I mean, I don't know, other than flexing muscle, what good it does, but I want to hear other opinions on it from some people I really respect. But my gut tells me they would say, well, maybe not a good idea to do that, for one thing. And somebody pointed that out to me this morning, somebody who I respect, said that this has such a potential for a setup for a false flag. Now, what do I mean by that? Somebody gets shot and, God forbid, killed at one of these armed protests. And it's done by design to make, and again, forgive me for thinking the worst of people, but again, I go back to the ends to the left. According to Saul Alinsky, who is God to the left, the godless atheist Saul Alinsky is their God. He says the ends justify the means. So a false flag killing, in order to make a whole segment of the population look like a bunch of redneck hillbillies? collateral damage. I thought it with COVID-19. I think it with just about, I think anything's possible. I think anything's possible. Just seeing the rage alone, just seeing the rage, the blind, this is not calculated, focused rage. This is blind, unabashed, uninhibited, in a lot of cases, rage. I mean, who goes out and burns down buildings just because they can? Who kills people just because they're in the way? Who breaks down doors and storms Target and steals everything in sight for social justice? Yet you've got people out there who says that's just what it is. It's time the have-nots get some stuff too. From those evil billionaires, those evil capitalist billionaires. I want an iPhone. I deserve it. Social justice, power. There's that fist you see on the, was it BLM or Antifa? Power and justice. Opportunism, rage. It's what it is. So I don't put anything past them. Killing to make a point? Killing for a political point? Collateral damage? I don't know who he was. I shot him. Now everybody hates they hate gun owners. Now it's gonna. I shot the guy so we'd get more gun control. We get more gun control, then it was worth it. That's the. I swear to you, I believe that is the. Maybe it's not the mindset of anybody on the left who's listening to me now, but trust me, it's the mindset of a lot of people that have your ideology in their brains. And they can't think too clearly. There are a lot of brains, conservative and leftists, whose brains are not wired quite properly enough to be able to differentiate what's right from what's wrong. Now, you couple a brain that isn't wired correctly with an ideology that demands compliance, or you're an outcast, and you've got a recipe for just about anything you can imagine. 10:57, got to take a break. We're going to be back with, we'll be back with the, hold on. Liberty Doll is going to be with us from Massachusetts coming up. And if you have a question, go ahead and post it. I'll try to watch the social media. I'm seeing all the social media post today. I wasn't yesterday, but I am today. So if you have a question for the Liberty Doll, go ahead and get it in. Get more information at thelibertydoll.com on just who she is, and we'll be right back. I'm John James.
Electrical repair should never be done without the knowledge of how to do it safely. Better yet, skip that stress and let Kennebec Electric and Lighting take care of it for you. Kennebec Electric has offered professional electric and lighting service and expert installation in homes and businesses for over 37 years, and they stand behind that experience with a guarantee on all their work. Kennebec Electric and Lighting. Contact them for all your electric and lighting servicing, including installations and repairs at 861-7028 or online at KennebecElectric.com.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You wanna get on with your life, get on with the show,
take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust, and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Jim Ryan. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar tells ABC News this morning that the Trump administration will no longer hold back vaccines for a second dose. States are being encouraged to give vaccines to people 65 and older and those under 65 with an existing disease or medical condition. Azar was also asked whether members of President Trump's cabinet have discussed the 25th Amendment to potentially remove President Trump from office after last week's Capitol riot.
I'm not going to get into or discuss the 25th Amendment here. I'm committed. I've wrestled with this. I'm committed to see this through in my role as health secretary during a pandemic to ensure that vaccines and therapeutics get out to the American people and to ensure a smooth handoff to President-elect Biden's team.
House members say they will begin the process of impeaching President Trump for a second time if Vice President Pence does not invoke the 25th Amendment. The FBI is warning of violence ahead of Inauguration Day next Wednesday. This is ABC News. There's been another arrest after the Capitol Hill riots. This time, the guy caught in a picture grinning ear to ear while he carried away the lectern for the Speaker of the House. ABC's Tony Marino has the story from Orlando.
36-year-old Adam Christian Johnson of Manatee County, Florida, was arrested Friday night after being identified in that viral photo. Monday, Johnson was released on $25,000 bond. The father of 5 is being charged with 3 felonies for his role in the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol. Conditions of his release include an overnight curfew, surrender of his passport, and no firearms. Johnson will be back in court on January 19th. Tony Marino, ABC News, Orlando, Florida.
Some house cleaning at Twitter. The social network now says it has purged 70,000 accounts that have been pushing the QAnon conspiracy theories. And Amazon says now it's booting merchandise that promotes QAnon off its platform. The world's biggest retail site says, though, it could take several days to get rid of all of it. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Leave your sister alone. You're ready to get back into yoga, so you order the essentials. A non-slip mat, yoga blocks to keep balance, and an exercise ball. And you use your Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping and up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards your most essential yoga gear. Noise-canceling headphones.
Welcome. Take a deep breath. Breathe.
Apply for yours at bankofamerica.com/more rewarding. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation.
I'm Dr. Baker, an ER physician. If you're having leg pain, swelling, or redness, but haven't talked to your doctor yet, don't wait. This could be deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot which could travel to your lungs and lead to a pulmonary embolism, which could cause chest pain or discomfort or difficulty breathing and be deadly. Your symptoms can mean something serious, so don't wait. Talk to a doctor right away, by phone, online, or in person.
Brought to you by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
It's time for a little fun, a few laughs, and a whole lot of truth. The John James Show is on Legacy 1160, WSKW.
Hi. Boy, we haven't been laughing much lately, have we? Hey! Give me something to laugh about. I do. I laugh plenty. You should too. You know, if you don't laugh, if you're always tense about what's going on, and you never take time to laugh, it's very hurtful. I mean, it's hurtful to you. It's hurtful to the people around you. You really do have to take the time to have a little fun. I think that's my personal opinion. You know, I laughed the other night. There's a new show on with Ted Danson. I don't know if you saw it. It was the pilot. I just happened to be, I don't know why I was turning the channel. I usually have certain places I go and I just poke the channel number in. But for some reason, I landed on Mr. Mayor, I think it's called, where Ted Danson is the mayor. He's the mayor of Los Angeles. And I really laughed. I forgot all about it now. Maybe I missed the most recent episode. I saw it and I thought, this is good. This is actually very funny. Very few TV shows make me laugh out loud. But this one did. The pilot of this made me laugh out loud. And I thought, geez, I'll tell my listeners about that, and maybe they can check it out, or maybe you did check it out. Maybe you don't think it's funny. I thought it was hysterical. Certain parts of it. I think Ted Danson does a great job in his reluctant role as mayor, and this other woman who's working with him, who wants to be the mayor, is hilarious too. So it's a very good show. So there's my recommendation for a show for you to watch out. Which the pilot, if you missed the pilot, it's probably on your on-demand section now on your local cable outlet if you have cable. You can find just about anything online at this point. Okay, I'm not sure. We've got calls that have been coming in, and the Liberty Doll. I just got a message from her, and she had something important come up and said she might be a little late. So go ahead and send that call in. Line 1. Hi. Good morning. You're on with John. Who am I talking with?
Hi, it's actually Liberty Doll.
This is the Liberty Doll. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to hear from you. You're our neighbor. You're in Massachusetts. We're in Maine.
Well, I'm actually not your neighbor anymore. I moved to South Carolina in September. I escaped.
You did. I saw your. I thought it was a recent piece you did on your website, saying that you were having a problem with a Bank of America, who I think Bank of America sucks.
Yeah, I mean, once all of this is over, I'm going to be pulling everything away from them. And it's unfortunate because the only reason that I even have accounts with them is because we knew that we were moving, and that was the only bank that had a branch in Massachusetts and where we were going to be in South Carolina.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, what a great place you moved to, though. It's more gun friendly.
Much more gun friendly.
Yeah, you've got some great.
Much more.
You've got Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott. What a great senator. I've got friends who live in Mount Pleasant, so I don't know how close you are to that. But very good.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the move. That's great. You got out of Charlie Baker's little, I don't know what you want to call it, tyrannical state there.
Well, I mean, we got out, but I'm hearing now that Marty Walsh is being appointed to Biden's cabinet. So, I mean, who knows what that's going to look like?
No kidding. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Mayor Marty Walsh and Gina Raimondo from Rhode Island. She's a hot mess. So
wow.
She was the one that had the National Guard on the borders of Rhode Island, stopping travelers as they were coming through and like checking licenses and asking for papers.
And that was all for that was for COVID-19, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Unbelievable. So let me ask you about the gun laws, where you're a big 2A supporter. You're very political too. I mean, you have a broad range of things you talk about on your show. TheLibertyDoll.com is the website, by the way. And what is the what day and time for new shows, so we can tell people to watch them, to check them out?
Well, okay. So I do regular live streams Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern and Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Tuesday one basically never has a set agenda, and I take topics from people in the chat and what they want to talk about and the news items that they want to hear about. And then regular videos, I have yet to come up with a concrete schedule. I have been trying to do little short videos just about the previous day's major headlines on a daily basis, but that's actually been really difficult with everything that happened in the Capitol and how quickly the news is moving. And I started doing that like the week before that all happened. So
it's just the news cycle is just unbelievable. I mean, it is completely nonstop. In fact, I try to stay updated while I'm on the show, and there's always new stuff happening. In fact, I just came across this. You might be interested in this. Andy Ngo, I'm sure you're familiar with Andy Ngo, and he's got the book Unmasked: Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy America, which I haven't read yet. It's on my list. Sounds like a great read. Now the mob is trying to block the book. They're outside recently. I've got audio here of it later. They're outside of a bookstore in Portland, Oregon. The mob is, the Antifa rioters, or they're not rioting, but they're yelling and demanding this bookstore, this Powell's bookstore, not sell the book. And I guess they have relented and have taken it off the shelves. So, we're seeing more and more of the mob getting their way. And this is a very dangerous place we're in, no?
Yes. Yes, it is. It's very, very chilling.
Now,
very chilling.
Have you yourself? I mean, you were in Springfield, right? Or
I was born in Springfield. Yeah.
But you're obviously I'm sure you spent a lot of time in the Boston area. Was there much, if any, unrest in Boston with BLM and Antifa during last summer's riots?
So Boston, there was some, mostly what I was concerned about. So I lived south of Boston for the last 10 years, about. I moved out there in 2010, and so where I was, there was there's this little city called Brockton, Massachusetts.
Right. Yep.
Parts of it are essentially a third world country.
Yeah.
And when I heard that there was going to be demonstrations there, I was pretty freaked out because it's Brockton, and the crime rates are astronomical, even on a good day. I expressed some concern about that and actually got doxxed over it, so that was fun. Surprisingly, though, everything in Brockton was not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Actually, the best part of the riots in Brockton was there was this woman, this African-American woman in like a pink hoodie that started directing traffic at this really dangerous intersection because the cops weren't doing it. And she just did it for like hours. And she did a damn good job, despite, cops coming over and randomly like macing her in the face and yelling at her. She just told them to go like F themselves and kept directing traffic. And there was not a single accident at that intersection the whole time that she was there.
Is that right? That's amazing. Did anybody get video of that? Cool. I'd never heard that story. I love that. Is there video?
I was watching it live on the Brockton Enterprise live feed.
No kidding. Oh, that's terrific. I love that. So tell me as a big 2A supporter, and by the way, Liberty Doll, I think I'd like to talk with you at some point off the air about giving you some admin rights to American women who bear arms, who you've been featured many times on that website, which just came back up, and on the Facebook page. So you can do your shows and some live things there for us as well, if you'd like, and extend your reach. So I should have done that a long time ago, but I've just been thinking about it lately. We need more good American patriotic conservative 2-way supporting voices out there, and you certainly were at the forefront of my mind, where you have been so prominent in stuff we've done in the past.
Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you. Now, we have this, there's chatter going on about, and NBC, of course, is in a panic mode about it, as all the gun-hating mainstream media outlets are. But what do you think about the armed protests in the capitals? Where do you stand on that? I really am trying to form an opinion about whether this is good or potentially bad.
Well, that's a very loaded question. I have mixed feelings, I guess you could say.
Good. You and me both.
Yeah, I have some mixed feelings. So on the one hand, when it started happening, I was like, oh my God, these people did that. That's amazing. And then I started thinking like, oh wait, the fallout of this, of the crazy, I mean, we already live in a surveillance state, and that is about to get so much more intense.
Yeah.
And I don't like to use the word witch hunt because I feel like it's become such a buzzword over the last few years.
I get that.
But the witch hunt that ensuing over all of this. And, there are the arguments of like, okay, these social media companies are private companies, blah, 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is they exist through government regulation, government monopolies, government subsidies. They are heavily influenced by government, and they heavily influence government themselves. So regardless of whether you're wanting to look at it as a First Amendment issue or not, there's certainly a problem when there are a few monopolies that are backed by government that are deciding who does and doesn't have a platform. And quite frankly, if they're concerned about some sort of armed insurrection and worried about threats that these people are making, taking away their platform and making them angry is not going to make it go away.
Right.
So I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, certainly I think that they picked a better target than Antifa and BLM picked in the summer. I mean, if you are mad about things happening in the Institute of Government, then you would thereby, should go after the Institute of Government and not the random bystanders that happen to have businesses in your city.
Amen.
They're
Amen.
not the problem.
Amen. It was very. The way I put it is the left, the leftists, the progressives, the mob was just very unfocused. They claim they were doing it for social justice, but they were shutting down all the people they were trying to help. They were burning their businesses. They were killing them. They were and they occupied a whole city, as you know, in Seattle in the summer of love, Mayor Jenny Durkin said. And it was just very unfocused. And you're right. Take it to the government. And it's not violent, but it has a potential for some bad PR, as we say.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I mean, and, I was watching the events unfold live on my channel. I had literally just finished a work call and was getting all these text messages and DMs in about what was happening. And I just flipped live and I told people, I was like, I don't know what's happening, but we're going to figure it out together. And we were watching this and, I wasn't seeing, there was all these reports about these armed protesters. And I mean, I didn't really see anyone armed. And of course there is talk of there were, pipe bombs that were planted and things like that. But I mean, those were planted at the DNC and the RNC.
Yes, they were.
So, it wasn't just an attack on Democrats. And we have AOC out on ABC either Saturday or Sunday morning trying to tell people that half of the House of Representatives almost died that day. I mean, that is some hyperbole and a half.
She's an idiot. Sorry.
It's just, I didn't see in the live feeds that I was watching a lot of the stuff that's being reported in the news or promulgated on social media. I mean, that isn't to say that, things like that didn't happen. But, I'm seeing reports and I'm like, oh, these people were intent on killing people and killing the representatives and they were looking for Pence to kidnap him. I'm like, I didn't see any of that on the feeds that I was watching. I didn't even see this supposed gallows until after the fact, a couple days later, and I saw a picture of it, and it looked like it was very much like the equivalent of a protest sign. That was not a working gallows by any means. And there was one guy that had some zip ties. I don't know.
And you're gonna. It doesn't matter what the group is: conservative, far left, moderate. There are going to be whack jobs in every group because there are just unhinged people out there who can't help themselves. So you're going to see some. There are going to be some anecdotal stories about unhinged people when you have 1 million people, and arguably that's what I've heard for numbers. Got a question for you. By the way, we're talking to the Liberty Doll. You can find out more about her and her show and her live stream, and she's a very outspoken conservative two-way supporter. It's thelibertydoll.com, and you have some swag. I love the mugs and And I love the stuff you've got, so you can buy some Liberty Doll swag there. What do you think about, or what did you see, I should ask, in this whole Ashley, the shooting of Ashley, and her last name has slipped my mind here for the moment.
Babbitt, I believe.
Ashley Babbitt, yeah. It didn't look to me, I saw several angles. I did not see any aggression that would have been an impetus for deadly force. Did you, or am I missing something?
Well, that's sort of a loaded question,
Yeah.
too.
Sorry about that.
Because, no, I mean, it's a valid question. It's a very good question. So, I mean, on the one hand, you consider, like, okay, it looked like she was shot probably by a Secret Service, or, I mean, it wasn't, a regular police officer in a police uniform. It was some guy in, like, a black suit.
Right.
So I'm making some assumptions there.
Yep.
But from what I understand, there were, like, 2 barriers between them or something like that, and she was trying to get through the window. So on the one hand, everyone there, well, on the one hand, she was not demonstrating an act of aggression just by, like, trying to come through the door. I mean, everyone there was trying to do that.
Right.
But, I mean, at the same time, I saw someone pose on social media, like, okay, well, if you were in your house and there was a mob running at your house and breaking in the windows, would you shoot someone who broke through the window? And it's like, possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really the situation that was happening.
Right. No, but I see your point. It's a very good point.
But I mean, either way, the way that I'm looking at it is, I'm like, okay, so in the conservative and libertarian movement, there's sort of this, I don't want to use the word mythology because it's things that happen and things that are real, but there's sort of this shared history that those two movements have in some of the people that have died because of government overreach and government action. These people are not all like role models. For example, we look at like Ruby Ridge, what happened at Waco. Duncan Lemp is a recent one. Bigger, I think, in the libertarian and ANCAP circles than the conservative ones, but still, it's an example of people that have died because of government actions when they were kind of just doing their own thing. I mean, certainly David Koresh is not a role model, but
yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And I mean, I wonder, like, okay, I mean, is she going to be considered one of the new martyrs that kind of gets wrapped into that shared history and that mythology? I don't know. I do think that it's interesting that when you look at some of the people that were shot by police that ended up spurring on these Antifa and BLM riots, the people on the right are like, oh, well, here is their rap sheets, or the fellows that Kyle Rittenhouse ended up shooting. Like, one of them was a convicted like sex offender or something, and those come out. And at the time, the left was like, oh, well, whatever they did in the past, like they were still innocent in this situation, and that doesn't mean that they get to be shot. And now it's the left that's bringing up Ashley Babbitt did have a previous rap sheet that has come out via the Daily Mail. I don't know if anyone else has printed it, but I did see it on the Daily Mail.
Really?
And it's yeah.
Huh.
And I don't remember what was on it. I think it might have been like a domestic or something, and she supposedly had a restraining order against her.
Interesting.
But it's interesting to see how the left was like, no, you can't do that. And now they're doing that.
Yeah.
And,
but whatever side does it, though, it's sort of unrelated to what happened. It's just extraneous evidence to make them look like a bad person. That's very good. And I didn't know about the rap sheet. That's very interesting. I'll have to look that up. But no, you bring up a very good point about, if somebody breaks into your house late at night, and you're home late at night, you have a right and some would say a duty to use lethal force if they appear to be a threat with a weapon, or if they don't obey your command to put their hands up, or whatever you would do. I don't know what I'd do in a situation like that. I just hope I never face it.
The difference here is this is a government building, and therefore, public property. And I mean, there's a whole lot of differences between those two situations, but it is an interesting thing to think about. So I just pulled up the Daily Mail article, and according to the Daily Mail, I think that's the only place that I've seen reporting it so far. They said that she had, let's see, so Maryland court records show the woman had run-ins with law enforcement before. She was acquitted or the charges were dropped in most of the cases, but there was a malicious destruction of property. There was a reckless endangerment, and it says a related traffic case. And I did see something somewhere that claimed that she had a restraining order against her.
Isn't it interesting how people dig as soon as they have an agenda, they will dig to try to find all they can bad
absolutely
about a person. It's kind of sad. It says a lot about our society.
It does.
But
it does. Wow.
Well, that's very interesting. I appreciate your outlook on that, because we seem to think the same on all these things. I mean, I don't, especially the armed protest thing. I've got a good friend, Jeff Zimba, who is part of Gun Owners of Maine. You may know him as the Big Shooterist on his YouTube channel. And he's a guy, he's like my spirit guide. I need to get his opinion before I can really form one of my own as to what he thinks we should do. I think I'm thinking more like you, that I'm probably not going to engage in an armed protest, even though it's only a protest and it would be peaceful. It doesn't feel right. And you go with your gut, right? I mean, that's all you've got is your gut.
Right.
And my motto is, you always want to be the guy in the white hat. And is that really being the guy in the white hat if you show up at the State House with a gun? It just you look like you're going on the offense, and there's no need to.
I mean, what I will say is my favorite take that I've seen is that, okay, so the people conducted a no-knock raid on Congress.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And like you said, it was focused. They had a rub with the government. We have a rub with the government, and that's where they took it. And I think we can both agree they went a little too far breaking in, but we still don't know if any Antifa or BLM were involved. There's a lot of rumor about that.
There is some rumor, and I see, conflicting. I'll see an article that says FBI confirmed that there was no Antifa or BLM there, but then I'll be talking to someone and they're like, oh no, I'm in talks with the Capitol Police, and they said that they were, and I don't think we'll ever really know the true story.
Yeah.
Of what happened that day. I mean, I do know I've talked to a few people who were at the actual Trump rally that was happening on the Ellipse, and they said that, by the time that speech was done and they got to the Capitol building, people were already on the scaffolding and trying to break in.
Really?
So, yes.
Well, isn't that interesting?
I've heard that from a few different people.
So that was before Trump ended his speech.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what I've heard.
Because they're saying
I wasn't there, but that's
right. And you're right. It's all hearsay. But he allegedly used his speech to incite the riots. And if that's the case, the riots may have already been, or the violent part of it may have already started at the Capitol building. And again, you hear different things from people who are seemingly authentic and genuine and should be in the know, but they're they're completely opposed in what they say they saw and what went on. And you're right. How do we get the true story nowadays?
Well, I mean, I don't think that we do.
Yeah.
I just don't think that it's going to happen. It was interesting because the other day I was just sort of doom scrolling through the news and the headlines and social media and seeing all the terrible things that were going on. And I remembered, so I'm a punk rocker. And I remembered this old Anti-Flag song. It's called Anatomy of Your Enemy. And I hadn't thought of that song or heard it in years. But, it's, this is how you create an enemy. This is how you start a war. And then there's like spoken word of like the 10 steps to create an enemy or start a war. And at the time, it was written in reference to probably the Middle East or something, as I believe it was during the George Bush era. But if you look, like steps 4 through 6 in it are actively happening now about, kicking people off of social media, making sure that they don't have a voice, painting them as violent militants, even if they're not. And there was an interesting point on I think it's step 4, and it says when all media becomes state media, and it says, well, okay, even if that media isn't run by the government, if the primary ruling party is the only party that's allowed to put out information through that, then all media does become state media. And I mean, we're hearing calls again of these legacy media companies talking about how they want to take down Fox News for promulgating fake news and lies and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I mean, the left has certainly won or is winning the culture war as far as, being in the schools and being the prominent voice in the legacy media and having such a heavy hand in pop culture as well.
Wow. That's very true. And we're at a scary time. And do you worry sometimes about, and I think you use YouTube as your, do you? Is that where you stream to? YouTube? Is that?
YouTube is primary. I mean, I'm on some other alt tech platforms as well, but YouTube is the primary because that's where most of the eyeballs are.
So do you ever worry about them, silencing you? I mean, they're silencing people left and right. They silenced.
Definitely. There was a New York Times article that came out. It was a few months ago. It was a New York Times article, and it said that #AllWomen is a right-wing trap. And it was came out when there was the allegations against Joe Biden of sexual assault. And the whole premise of the article was that the Me Too movement never said believe all women, and that was a Republican psyop kind of thing. And I was like, hey, well, this isn't true. And I went through and screenshotted some areas where that hashtag had started and prominent feminists that had started it. And YouTube marked that video as promoting terrorism and hate speech.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And then I recently did a video about the new gun control laws that have been proposed in Texas and how some of them match word for word some of the stuff that was being proposed in Virginia late 2019, early 2020. And by YouTube's own policies, they marked this video as against community guidelines, and they sent me to this help article. And in the help article, right when it says things that are appropriate for YouTube, the first or second sentence as far as firearm content does say discussion of legislation or proposed gun control is A-OK. And they marked my video as selling guns and promoting unsafe use of firearms or something like that. And I took it to YouTube. I had to do it via Twitter because, I mean, there are some people that are so lucky to have a direct line to Google and YouTube. I am not one of those people.
Wow.
And I took it right to YouTube, and they were like, oh, well, we will re-review this. And they never did.
They never did.
So,
wow.
No, of course not.
This is scary times. There's a company called Patriotic Me, which was started by a woman. I can't remember where she's from. She raised her kids and she wanted to get back into the workforce. She started Patriotic Me, and they sell red, white, and blue American-themed clothing, hats and shirts and that sort of thing, I guess. Patriot, not political, patriotic. Facebook has banned her advertising account. She can no longer advertise her products on Facebook. And this is getting crazy scary. It's like something's coming to a head here soon. And
I mean, and just yesterday, Facebook blocked Dr. Ron Paul from his own account and his own page, and they said it was from violating community guidelines. I mean, come on, it's Ron Paul.
Right. Ron, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Rand Paul's dad. And, I mean, and the thing is, they make, by the way, we're talking to the Liberty Doll, thelibertydoll.com. You can find her on Facebook and watch her shows on her Facebook page, or you can go to your website and you have videos there as well.
I'm bad at updating the website, so you're definitely better off going to Facebook.
Okay, all right, good to know. Hey, believe me, I know. I've been there. It is a labor. I mean, it is something that takes quite a bit of time to do if you're on it regularly. What we need, Liberty Doll, is a staff. We need people. What we need to have people. Maybe someday, right?
Yeah, I keep telling myself this will be the year that I'll hire someone to help me edit videos or update my stuff, and then it never happens.
Oh boy, yeah. Your videos are very good.
Don't get banned.
Well, we will wish you luck on that. But there are other platforms where you can take the video. In fact, did you hear about Elon Musk said he wants to create his own internet now?
Well, I know that he's been talking about that for a while or something. Well, I don't know about his own internet specifically, but the satellites and things that he's been launching have been to create a worldwide Wi-Fi service or something like that.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, there are going to be options, or there are certainly going to be options, but this thing with Parler, with Amazon and Apple and Google, I mean, this is just a sign of the times we're in. And as the more they try to silence the right, it seems to me, the more we're able to use grassroots ways to get the word out. And I think people are just sick and tired of being told what to think. And
I think CB and ham radios are going to make a comeback.
I'm a ham radio. Are you a ham radio operator?
I am not, but I know many people that are, and I recently learned you need a license for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's not that hard to get. I've had mine for many years, and yeah, it's great. A ham radio is great. CBs are fun.
There's a local prepping group, I guess, that supposedly teaches you how to do it and make one and all that. I might, I don't know, I might end up getting into it. Who knows? You
really should. We'd have another way to communicate if the infrastructure goes down. And it's a lot of fun. You used to, when I got my license, you had to take, it's called CW, which is Morse code, and you had to know Morse code. And I got pretty good at it. I really enjoyed doing it, but now you don't even need to know that. So getting a license is pretty easy. It's just some theory, some radio theory and math and stuff like that. And there are study guides that really walk you right through it. So it's almost a no-fail process, but a good thing to have for sure. So yeah. If I can be of any help, let me know. I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, I might look into it. I mean, it would be just a cool skill to have.
It is very cool. It's just an extension of what you're already doing. You're communicating, and it's a great way to meet people from not only all over the world in a way where you don't have a bunch of people who just type in all caps and call you a Nazi. I mean, these are people who actually had to study and take a test, so they're a little bit more on the ball than some of these attackers on Facebook and Twitter. So, just a thought for you, but. Anyway, it's just you are a great American. It's the Liberty Doll. now in South Carolina. And I wish you all the best. Now, when it comes to Second Amendment, one more question. We talked about this earlier, and I wanted to ask your opinion on this. The U.S. Constitution, insofar as I remember in my studies of the U.S. Constitution, it covers all 50 states, soon to be probably 51 under Joe Biden, because that's what Muriel Bowser is asking for. But
I heard about that.
Isn't that something? So it covers all 50 states. Now, the states can make laws that give you more liberty than what the Constitution spells out, but can't give you less. So how are states even constitutionally able to say, well, I'm sorry, you can't carry a gun unless you can prove why you need to carry a gun and pay $500 to the government and take classes? You are not a... So I wonder how people are even going to have armed protests in some of these states.
I mean, I think that these laws are not constitutional, but the issue is, and this is something that we saw a lot in Massachusetts and was one of my many, many reasons for leaving. So in Massachusetts, for whatever reason, it was Attorney General Maura Healey that made the gun laws.
Oh, she's something else.
I don't really know how or why that happened and came about, but that was the deal. And, she would kind of make them all willy-nilly, and even had there was a list of allowed guns that you could own in the state, and then there was a super secret list of other guns.
Unreal.
And, the average citizen did not have the secret list and all of that. And in Massachusetts, whether or not you were allowed to get a permit is down to your the state police chief that is in your town. And so there are certain towns that we on Northeast Shooters, there's a really great breakdown that breaks them down into a color coding system of how likely you are to actually get a license. And there are some places in Massachusetts that don't even ever give them out ever, and it was brought to court.
Wow.
But the issue is, so we have, Maura Healey or whoever making gun laws in Massachusetts, for our example, because that's what I know the most about. And then what you would have is you would have individuals, but also groups like GOAL, like the Gun Owners Action League, bringing lawsuits against this. And pretty much every time what happened is these lawsuits were flat out dismissed by the court, or individuals were laughed out of court. And in at least one of the cases, the judge or whoever was presiding over it had connections with Maura Healey and did not recuse themselves from the lawsuit. And so it becomes a cycle of people just not having the voice. Then on the other side of things, you have one of my favorite things that I've learned about South Carolina is there are a couple of federal laws, I guess, that basically the state says, oh, well, our people that enforce the gun laws here aren't federal agents, so they don't have to abide by those rules.
There you go. Well, I mean, really, do any of us have to? A lot of police in Virginia, when Governor Ralph Baby Killer Gun Hater Northam put down all his edicts with his assemblies, some of the police said, we're just not going to enforce your unconstitutional laws.
Oh, I mean, there were tons. I mean, most of the state ended up declaring themselves as sanctuary counties, and the sheriffs were backing it up. And in one county, the sheriff even says that he was going to deputize every single person in the county who could legally own a gun so they wouldn't lose their rights.
Right.
And then government officials turned around and threatened to cut all state funding to that county. And they put out a bill to fire the sheriffs, even though I didn't know that you could fire an elected official in that capacity. And they also threatened, there was one representative that was like, oh, well, we should call in the National Guard.
I do remember that. I remember that. And I remember the deputizing all law-abiding citizens who own guns. That was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the anti-gunners will always find a way to fight back. And they have nothing substantial to stand on, because most of the killings are people who have illegal guns or they are illegal aliens in gangs in places like Chicago, San Francisco, New York, Philadelphia. But you can't reason with them. It gets so frustrating. But it is what it is. We just have to keep the faith. And I know you will. And I really appreciate your time. You've given us a lot of this hour, and I sure do appreciate it. And
well, thank you. I'm glad that I'm happy to come on, and I'm glad that you asked me.
Well, good, and hopefully we'll do it again. And I would like to visit if you're interested. It's totally up to you. If you want to be an administrator for American Women Who Bear Arms, you certainly would be more than welcome. So
we'll definitely have to talk about it. Just because my only, I'm really bad at it.
Yeah, I get it. I am too. But draw me a Facebook message or something like that, and we can have a chat. And it would be easy enough just to add another outlet to the stream list if you've if you wanted to do that. So anyway, the Liberty Doll from now beautiful South Carolina. Better climate too, by the way.
Oh my God, yes. It's like beautiful and sunny, and get an extra hour of daylight here just about.
Stop it. We're here in Maine. Maine, the way life should be. Anyway, listen, you have a great day, and let's stay in touch. Thank you for your time.
Definitely.
Take care. The Liberty
thank you
Doll.
for having me.
Be well. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
The Liberty Doll. She's just great. And I've been covering her, a lot of what she does for several years. And she never lets me down. She's just always a great voice. And we need more voices like hers now. People who are willing to speak out, not anonymously. I mean, it's great to have a voice and to use your voice. I appreciate everybody who uses their voice to speak out either on social media or who call us here at the radio station on the phone and are willing to put themselves out there. But we need more people willing to do that. And that's why I appreciate your being here. I appreciate your sharing, and I appreciate your being part of the show. We have to take a break. We will be right back with more to wrap things up. Stick around. I'm John James. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
WSKW, AM 1160.
Townline Antiques wants to know, what are you shopping for today? Searching for furniture to add to your home? Townline Antiques has beautiful pieces of furniture for every room, built to last with quality materials from the past. Thinking of decorating in a classic style? You'll find enchanting home decor, artwork, glassware, and hundreds more items around every corner. Do you love collecting books, comics, coins, sports memorabilia, watches, or classic electronics? Townline Antiques has cool, rare, and one-of-a-kind items to add to your collection that you won't find anywhere else. And if you love searching through treasures of the past, here's more great news. Townline Antiques has expanded with extra booth space. Now there are even more quality antiques to browse every time you visit. Plus, there are a limited number of dealer spaces now available. If you'd like to learn about selling at Townline Antiques, just stop in. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow Valley.
Hey! We on? This is a video. This video only. Yeah, Liberty Doll. She's great, isn't she? Check out some of her stuff. She really is terrific. And I saw that about Rumble. Who said that? About Amy. Yeah, I saw what you had said. I didn't know that. I'm on Rumble. Yeah, live stream option would be great. And the thing is that some of these come in. Who knew about Parler? Who knew they were using an Amazon server that could just cut them off at the knees? I could see where Apple and Google stopped selling them in the Apple Store and the Play Store. I got that, which sucks. I mean, that alone is enough to really inhibit the reach of a company. But Amazon, there was Amazon servers. There must have been a reason for that. Amazon servers must have been hefty enough to however many millions of people would be on there without crashing. But we'll see what happens. Dan Bongino was saying last night that he does plan to get back on, just doesn't know when or how. Yeah, Casey. We did the general yesterday, who falsely claimed, according to Military Times, that CIA agents had died in was it Italy as they attacked a CIA agency, a CIA branch regarding election fraud. They said that was a lie. But he is saying now that there was election fraud coming from Italy during the election. I've seen that in more than one place. And this particular lieutenant general of the Air Force, retired, said that. So there's, you know what? There's just so much information out there. I try to give you all I can. I don't want to overload with stuff that doesn't matter, but some of the stuff may matter. And that's the stuff I like to make sure I get out. Even if it doesn't come to pass, it's stuff you ought to know about, so at least you have some point of reference if the SHTF, if you know what I mean. Okay, we're back on. Thanks for being here today and always.
And portions of central Maine becoming partly to mostly sunny for today, with highs in the mid to upper 30s. Another nice day tomorrow, partly sunny, mid 30s. Some more clouds move in Thursday and Friday with highs near 40 degrees. Rain and some mountain snow arrives overnight Friday into Saturday.
Your pep rally for freedom is back, powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
Hi, there we go. Welcome back. 11:52 here on Legacy 1160 WSKW. See, Crystal says, it seems to me that Bezos plays both sides here with their servers and Parler, and also with Bezos' Washington Post. You know, it really dumbfounds me how the guy is such a staunch leftist when the very people he aligns with don't believe in capitalism. They tax the hell out of them in Seattle with the Amazon tax. AOC single-handedly keeps thousands of New Yorkers unemployed by keeping Amazon out of New York City, and yet Bezos aligns with these people and, in fact, helps them with the Washington Post and by getting rid of Parler. Parler! Free speech. I mean, what does that say about him, about his company, about the movement? It's not much of a movement. It's very unfocused. It's a very unfocused movement. But that's the thing. They keep you guessing. What are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? Now, I get a kick out of Joe Biden's new peaceful strategy here as he gets ready to come into office. What is he calling for? What are his buzzwords? Healing? That's one of them. It's going to be healing. Really? He wants to get rid of the divisiveness. Really? Well, how's he going to do that? He's not. He's not. You know what I don't understand? And this I would like to have somebody on the left explain to me what is so good about their beliefs. Why is it better than the conservative views? Is it just that you need to take the other side because you need something to enrage you? Is it all about the rage? Tell me why open borders is better. I'm serious about this. Tell me why open borders is better than protecting our borders. Tell me why free health care for all, which is not free, free education for all, which is not free. Tell me why those things are better. Tell me why gun control is better. What proof do you have? Show me some proof why we need gun control. Show me proof. Show me. Tell me. Call me. Why do we need gun control? How is that going to make us safer? Go ahead and tell me. You know what? You can't. Not without sounding like a complete and total idiot. You can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm always looking the other way. I'm looking at comments. You're not even looking at the camera. I know that. You know what? Maybe if I reposition the camera, maybe that would be better. Now I'll always be looking at the camera. There, I like that better, actually. Now you can't see my face, and that's probably a good thing. There. So, no, the lighting's horrible there. Lighting's horrible in this studio anyway. It's not a TV studio anyway. It's a radio studio. We just need some better lighting. So, I mean, how are any of these things Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want? How are they better than what we have? How are they better? How are all these major overhaul changes to America better than fine-tuning what has worked for over 240 years? Tell me why. Why is all of a sudden we've got to overhaul the system? We've got to do a rebuild. Why? Why? This whole system's worked pretty well. Point out something to me that requires a major overhaul, and you'll have my attention. Tell me why. I mean, don't just tell me, well, we need to overhaul the whole system because the earth is going to die if we don't stop fossil fuels and use wind and solar everywhere. Okay, tell me how you know that. Prove that to me, because science says that's a lie. Yeah, science, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And besides, the predictions over the last 30 years that Al Gore has made, none of them came true. None of them. Nothing. I mean, the ocean should be up over, they should be frickin' islands underwater now. The polar bears should be extinct. They're thriving. There should be no ice on the mountaintops at Glacier National Park. Huh. Wow. So Al Gore is, he was wrong. And AOC is wrong. You're following the wrong people. And they're acting out of rage. They're the ones inciting rage. They're the ones, they accused Trump of inciting violence. I don't know why Trump took credit for some of that. If he did, apparently he did. Said he was somewhat responsible. Maybe he was. Maybe he did push the election fraud a little bit too hard on that day with 1 million people near the Capitol. That might not have been the day to really try to make a case for how evil the Congress is when you had people there, some of them completely unhinged, maybe a lot of Antifa, we don't know. But it's not Donald Trump that incites anything. The violence is being incited by the left. It was Chris Cuomo, leftist on CNN, who said during the protests, who says protests have to be peaceful? Well, the First Amendment says that, Chris. You're a mook. Don't tell me they don't incite rage and by virtue, riots. By virtue of that, they incite riots. They get people all angry. George Floyd's killing, don't tell me mainstream media did not incite riots. Before George Floyd's body was even cold, they were excoriating the police officer with no background, with no any body cam footage, with nothing to reference that happened just before the incident. They were all over it with Jussie Smollett. Well, Jussie Smollett was attacked by a couple of MAGA hat-wearing racists screaming homophobic slurs. No, actually. And the kid, I forget his name, the Covington High School kid, he was standing in front of that Native American man smirking at him. This is the news, the mainstream media. Don't tell me they aren't the ones that incite violence, that they aren't the ones that start trouble, and they do it on purpose. They know what they're doing. They are one of the most dangerous entities in this country. Between them and social media, they have cornered the market on tyranny. They love it. Trust me on that. They love it. They love the riot. Gives them something to cover. And while they're covering it, they call it mostly peaceful, while the flames burn behind them. They are, by definition, absolutely out of their minds. They are insane. It's 12 o'clock. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9. We'll have a lot more news, I'm sure, a lot we didn't get to today. But don't be surprised. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm making no predictions. I'll leave that to the pundits who want to go out there, put their necks out, and say, well, it's going to be... I've heard these news stories. Yesterday, I was listening to this video somebody put out. Well, there's going to be this. Today is the day we're going to have everything's going to be shut down. There's going to be a media blackout. The media companies are going to be shut down. They're going to be blacked out. And I thought, wow, this is serious. Today, we thought it was going to be Wednesday, but it's going to be today. I got this yesterday morning. I'm not going to do that. I am not going to do that because there's so much garbage out there that sounds real. And this is the problem. Let me tell you this before I go. One of the problems is people see something that sounds legitimate from one source, and they run with it, and they share it. It goes viral, and before you know it, everybody's on the edge. And what is being said never comes to pass. Now, why'd they do it? Did they have good reason to believe that what they say is going to happen? Or were they just trying to get a whole bunch of likes and have a video go viral? Well, I would say probably the latter is more likely, but I don't know. Just be careful. But always have it in the back of your mind. That EAS tone could go off. It may. And you better pay attention if it does. Not saying it's going to. Some people are saying, oh, it's going to go off. Get ready for it. I don't know. But don't be surprised. I'm John James. Have a great afternoon. See you tomorrow.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Rena Roy. President Trump saying before leaving for Texas that the impeachment push in Washington following the Capitol insurrection is causing tremendous anger among his supporters, but he wants no violence. Violence has been threatened, however. ABC News Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas.
This morning, security stepped up across the country after the FBI